This is an Americana. She's a wild one. Fluffy butts. I was able to get one. But the whole garden is wood chipped and I absolutely love it. I am trying to figure out if I have space to go get another flat. They fought to be here because they weren't being taken care of either. But you can also tell it's dry dirt in here. I'm gonna give it a try. Hello, welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space out in my backyard. You want to know what else this urban gardener does? She records an hour worth of garden tour while attempting to stare into the lens and not looking over here. But you know what she didn't notice? That her camera was in slow motion for the whole entire hour. So what is she gonna do? She's still gonna try to look directly into the camera lens. She's gonna go give her chickens more treats. So lucky for them. And she is going to re-record this garden tour once more. And really it's a homestead tour. So I introduced you to the chickens. I showed you the quail. I did all of that. And I was in slow motion. This is not the first time this has happened. But I noticed it sooner the first time because I wasn't trying to look into the lens. Anyway, let's go talk about my homestead. I got it. Oh, relax. Okay, so here in Virginia, in Zone 7B, I'm growing in my backyard. It's a normal sized backyard that I think most people would have if they, live in an urban setting. I am raising 6 chickens. I have a olive egger. This is the gray one here who's like, why are you doing that? This is a black sex link. This is also a black sex link. This is a majestic Moran. They all look the same. The difference is she has feathers on her feet, which is how I could tell the difference between her and them, but they all look the same. Oh, not nice. This is an Americana. She's a wild one. And then this is a Brahma, and I love her. She had a sister. So did the other gray one, passed away. And so these are the chickens that I'm left with. If you've been here for a while or over the last few months or so, you remember that my chickens had vent gleat. There isn't a vent gleat butt in sight and I am super excited. I recently started to put hot pepper flakes into their food and it seemed to have worked. I was also giving them Epsom salt baths. And so I do think though that putting the hot pepper flakes in their food helped them a lot. Chickens cannot taste heat. And so that's what I started to do and it is good for them. So I started putting it in their food because I have preserved a whole bunch of hot peppers. We don't eat hot peppers like that. And so I started to put it in their food instead of getting rid of it and it has worked amazingly. Let me see if I can grab one for you and show you that the fluffy butts are back. My Brahma was the worst, so I'm gonna show you her butt. She don't want to be picked up today. Come here, Betty. That's not Betty. That's Peace. Come here, Peace. Can I see you? Oh dear, you're not gonna let me see you. So probably been raising chickens since my 2nd year of gardening. I wanted them so bad, like the thought of having them just was so romantic to me. And so we did get them and then I got scared of them. The bigger they got, yeah, she is not interested today. Will you come see me? Relax, relax, relax. Anywho, fluffy butts, super excited. She's been so angry sometimes. Anyway, I was scared to death of them when they started getting bigger and my daughter was doing everything, like not feeding them. Like I would feed them, but if it came to picking them up, one got out, I would just call my daughter. But I have gotten so much better with them over the last few years. So if chickens are something that you're thinking about and you're nervous about it, just do a little do a little research, of course, but if you're nervous because you think you're going to be scared of them, just understand that it gets better and you'll get more comfortable around them. Like, I'm just sitting out here and they may come and peck me, and I'm fine with that. Like, someone said before, like, you let your chickens peck you. I don't know how to let them not peck me and it doesn't hurt me. So with that being said, they will peck you, but they're really sweet. I came out here this morning to feed them and make sure they had everything that they needed, and so they got, like I said, they got a second thing of treats because I recorded in slow motion. The other thing that I raise here on my urban homestead is quail, and so I raise quail for meat and for eggs. I have 3 right now. I started out with 5, but we lost 2. And so at this point, I am going to put their eggs into an incubator, whatever amount of eggs that I have, and I am hopeful to hatch out at least 6 that I can save to start this covey over. I'm gonna grab one and let you see them. They scare very easily, like movements, sounds, they scare very easily. So I'm gonna see if I can get them, and then I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna see if I can get one. I was able to get one. So these are quail, very small, and so people do ask, like, how much meat are you getting out of them? We can eat 2 and be okay with them. She's a little feisty. I think this is the guy. He's a little feisty. But I'm gonna put them back in a minute. But I do raise quail for meat and for eggs. They're very small, doesn't take up a lot of space. They are a little messy. They're a little bit messy, I will tell you that, but I really do like them. I love growing out quail. Someone asked before too, do I call them myself? And when I say call, butcher, whatever word you want to use, yes, I do call them myself. Pretty easy and simple process as well. So those are the animals, aside from my dog, that are on my homestead. The chickens are only for eggs. I do not raise them for meat. They are more like pets. As much as I love quail, when I started raising them, that's what they were supposed to be for, meat and eggs. And so I center myself, I calm myself, and then I do process them on my own. So if this is your first time here, I want to preface this garden tour with saying that my fall garden is not exciting. It is not exciting, but what I do over here is make sure that I tell the full story. I show the good, the bad, and I show the ugly. And so we are going to look at my garden, and we're going to look in the greenhouse. We're even going to go inside. I'm going to show you my pantry area. I'm going to show you the things that I have going and give you somewhat of an update. But if you're new here, I show the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly of my fall garden is life got in the way. I got sick, and then I went on vacation. And it has been pest-ridden, but I am fighting to get it back. And I do believe that if it's not in fall and spring, I'm going to have a very nice garden, and I'm going to have a lot to harvest. So let's go ahead and get into this garden tour. So as most of you know, I recently put wood chips down. Absolutely love it. Got it from Chip Drop, and I absolutely love it. I'm out here with my regular shoes on, and I don't have any mud or anything on my shoes. So the garden is wood chipped. Not only is the garden wood chipped, but my whole backyard at this point is wood chipped. And we have a greenhouse over there. We'll be going in there soon. But the whole garden is wood chipped, and I absolutely love it. I have my generator out here because earlier the sun was out and I was letting it charge, but the sun is pretty much gone now. Not only is the backyard wood chip, the front yard is also wood chip because I am planning to start a front yard orchard. Another reason why I really wanted to get my garden under control is because I want to start the front yard orchard. I don't want to start another project when this garden was not where it should be. And so now that we've pretty much gotten this under control, we are going to start the front yard orchard, but I got to find the trees that I want. I am so excited. I think it's going to be so nice. Anyway, let's start talking about the garden. If you saw my community post the other day, you know that I got a steal of a deal on some seedlings, right? And so it is pretty late for me in Zone 7B in Virginia to be planting out seedlings, especially since I do not plan to cover. Someone mentioned that I can get frost covering from, I think, the fabric store. No, I have it. I have it. I just don't know if I'm going to have the energy to actually do it. So I have it. I just don't have any plans. I'm not saying I won't. I'm saying that I don't have any plans on covering a thing. So, other thing is I don't normally grow in my bags over the fall and the winter. I just don't do it. But this year, considering my beds are like looking a mess, I said, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and get these seedlings, because I got for $5. I got a whole flat of seedlings. That was cabbage, that was broccoli, that was cauliflower, which I am horrible at growing. That was Brussels sprouts, that was some spinach, some what else did I get? Swiss chard. I got a lot of things for $5. And so if they don't grow, or if they don't get established enough by the time that, you know, the real freezes come, then it will only have been $5. But if they do produce, I'm gonna have a lot of food. So let's start with the bags that are in the walkway. These are 7-gallon bags. I get that question a lot. They're 7-gallon bags. I do think they're linked. I do not have an Amazon account, but I did link it because people ask a lot. So these are all 7-gallon bags. It's the only size bags that I grow in here. And so we have broccoli. I love broccoli, so I want to be able to harvest a lot of broccoli. And then down here, we have cabbages. All of this was planted yesterday, but it's been pretty cool and I watered well. So we didn't experience much transplant shock, if any, if I'm honest. And I did plant them deeper because cold crops can be planted deeper. The fall plants, I do it all the time. They can be planted deeper. It can help to stabilize them a bit more, but I've always planted mine deeper. And these seedlings were a little leggy because they were old, but some of them were old, some of them were also root bound. But either way, it was $5 for a whole flat. This is something I don't think I've showed you all. So this is one of the plants that I pulled out of the bed. It's a cabbage, but I put it in a bag because I want to see if this middle is going to grow. But my beds are where I get the most sun, and so I didn't want to leave that there when I had something to replace it with. Although I left a lot of things there. But at the time I didn't have anything to replace it with. Anyway, so that is what that is. And so I want to see, you know, what it's going to do for me. And I'm very much, if you're new over here, a leave it and let's see what happens type of person. I'm also a it's fine type of person. If you're not new here, you know that. But if you are, that's the kind of gardening that I do. This is the worst garden that I've had since I started gardening. But you know what? It's fine. Oh, I know what I wanted to show y'all. I had decided that if I didn't get Lanceolate kale, it was fine because, of course, you know, my seedlings also succumbed to my life. So I did find Lanceolate kale, dinosaur kale, yesterday. And wow, it wasn't a part of the steal of a deal. I did get 3 plants for $5 because there was a pot of them and they didn't have just one in the pot. Some of them had 2. I happened upon one that had 3, and that's the one that I purchased. So now I will have 3 dinosaur kale plants. I'm very excited about that because I love dinosaur kale. And so going back up the walkway, what we have are potatoes that volunteered themselves in these 2 bags. And then in this bag, I saw the potato growing. I also still planted carrots, so we'll see what happens. These are our carrots that are in the 7-gallon bag that very much need to be thinned. I'm planning to get to that tomorrow. And then we have more broccoli coming down this row. And my plan with all of this broccoli is to eat some of it fresh, but I really want to preserve a lot of it for the summertime when in my zone I cannot grow broccoli. It would just bolt. So that's my plan with all of this broccoli. And there's still broccoli in the bed. So let's start talking about the things that are in the beds, not all of the new stuff. But I was very excited about the new stuff. Also excited to say that I'm growing in bags for the fall. I'm very excited. Normally my bags would be covered with leaves and they would just sit through the fall and the winter. But this year they may be growing some yummy vegetables for me. So here's the thing. I am trying to figure out if I have space to go get another flat, right? Because I have about 10 bags with nothing in them. And then I have all of the bags that still have the peppers in them. So with that being said, if I cleared the peppers, I could put some more cold crops in here. So I'm thinking about that. All right, so we're gonna start at the opening of the garden where we still have some asparagus that needs to be cut down, but we also still have a little bit of green. This year, I really wanna let all of the asparagus die back before I cut it. So normally I would cut my asparagus when it starts to become too much for me, but I understand that the crown is getting its energy from the plant, because if you do not harvest asparagus, it will turn into what looks like a fern, and that fern allows the sun to go into it, and then it goes down to the crown of the asparagus. Asparagus is perennial. It will come back every year, right? And so I'm trying my best not to let the messiness of it get to me and allow this plant to do what this plant does. And so that's why we haven't cut the asparagus, but I do want to. Beside the asparagus, we still have our lemon balm, and we did harvest some of this, but it's still here. And what I'm planning to do is, because a few of you said I can cut this back, and then I'm going to put this in the greenhouse because I want to see if I can keep it till next year, put it back out in the spring. Easier gardening is what I like to do. Over here is an anise hyssop. This is where we moved the marshmallow plant out of this pot. So now we just have this anise hyssop all by itself. It has already flowered. The bees loved it, and so did the butterfly. Anise hyssop also will come back again next year. I am growing that anise hyssop to use it medicinally. I have not yet, but I am finally getting into using all of these herbs that I'm growing medicinally so that I can make my own medicine. And so hyssop will be on the list for next year. So beside the asparagus bed and everything else that I showed you, we have a cold crop bed, a fall bed. That's looking rough. But I do want to show you something. So like this plant looks really rough, and this plant was eaten by pests, like really bad, right? Even down in the middle. But we have leaves coming back now. So that is why I'm leaving these things, because I do believe that now that I'm taking care of them, I am fertilizing. Today is a fertilizer day, and I will be fertilizing. Now that I'm taking care of them and I'm fertilizing them and doing what I need to be doing, I do believe they're going to bounce back. Plants are resilient. I do not show you any of this so that you can say, well, I'll just let my garden get eaten up and it'll do fine. That's not why I show it to you. I show it to you in case, like me, life got in the way and you weren't able to keep up with your garden. Don't pull it out so quickly. Like, don't give up on it so quickly, because it can come back. The plants are resilient if they have what they need to grow. If they're in the environment to grow, they aren't being eaten by worms, which now that I have gotten those worms off there, the population has decreased drastically. And so I just went through one by one and I pulled them off. I am not a sprayer of things. I don't use pesticides. And so I very much do it in a way that is, you know, cumbersome, maybe a lot of work, but that's the way that I do it. And so that's what we're doing here. We are going to see what this garden looks like in spring, because I do think that's when I'm going to actually start to see a harvest. But gardening is absolutely a lesson in patience. Even if your garden is doing great, you still have to have the patience to wait for the vegetable to produce, right? And so that's what it is. It's a lesson in patience. So in the front, this is all kohlrabi, and there is one snapdragon there. And if you remember from the last tour, it was pretty small, had some pretty small new sprouts, but it's growing larger sprouts now. And snapdragons love cooler weather. We have snapdragons in the flower bed, which I'm also going to show you, and they're doing amazingly. Like, they're doing really good. I'm very, very proud of them. They fought to be here, if you remember. That's what I said. They fought to be here because they weren't being taken care of either. Right behind, actually, we also have some leeks here. These leeks have been in since spring. This is a nice size one. I see leek and potato soup in my future. I really do. That's a delicious soup. But anywho, we have cabbage here. Middle leaves starting to come back in. Was very much eaten up. Same thing here and the same thing over there. I am doing my best now to come out here, and if I see any worms, I get them off of the plants. I do it immediately. I'm also fertilizing now. Like I said, today is fertilizer day, and I will be fertilizing. Behind that cabbage, we have some broccoli. And right here you can see we got new leaves coming in there too. Same thing with this one. Over there we replaced that broccoli plant with a kohlrabi. So we just did that about a week ago, still small. Behind it is that very eaten up Brussels sprout that also has new leaves growing. So it's kind of an update for y'all. We still left 2 of the tree collards, and they're growing new leaves at the bottom, but I do believe I need to cut the top because I think the top is rotting the rest of the plant. This one was not that rotten and it's hollow. So I'm gonna cut the tops on an angle like I do when I cut my trees. And then down here we have, I believe I replaced some things with some kohlrabi. Kohlrabi is one of my favorite vegetables for fall. And so I have a lot of kohlrabi in this garden because I plan to eat a lot of kohlrabi probably in the spring, like I said, because I don't think I'm gonna get it in the fall. The other thing that I did is I put some spinach in. So I got this was a part of my $5 deal. There are bundles. There are like lots of plants in here because I want small leaves. I am not an eater of spinach, especially not like cooked. I don't like it. So I will eat it though in a salad. I will eat it, you know, like on a sub or on a sandwich. And so I want smaller leaves, and that's why I did it in bundles. So if you plant them close and in bundles, you're gonna get smaller leaves. But if that's what you prefer, that's fine. And you can do it in a cut and come again style. Spinach likes cold weather too. So pretty happy to have gotten those because I did not get any spinach planted. And then, true story, even if I had, it wouldn't have survived because none of my seedlings did. And then the last new addition here is some Swiss chard. I just grabbed Swiss chard because they had it, and that's what we have back here. And one little snapdragon from the spring. So now we're gonna move on to the bed right beside it. This is another block bed. These beds are what, 7 by 4, just to kind of give you some context of the beds. In the front of this one, we have the pak choi. And those were also a little bit pest ridden, but we have new leaves growing in the middle of all of these as well. I will say that I wish that I had a few more warmish days to give these plants to get a little more established, but it is what it is. So we're just going to continue to take care of them, to do what we're supposed to do. And I'm hoping, and I'm hopeful, I believe it, I really do believe it, that this is going to be a really nice garden soon. There's also, right beside this pak choi, another snapdragon that's been in here since the spring as well. We have cabbage back here. Look how eaten up. Look how eaten up. But also, look at those new leaves. Love it. There's more cabbage. That's a kohlrabi that I replaced that cabbage that is in that bag over there. I replaced it with the kohlrabi right here. And then there are leeks. This is another nice size leek that I'm pretty excited to harvest soon. We have more kohlrabi behind it, and then there's a Swiss chard there and a Swiss chard there. Now these I did start, they survived just like those snapdragons. And so went ahead and put them in. We have broccoli here that's looking like, you know, it's gonna rebound. Now this one, not so much. Not so much. So if I were to go get more seedlings, I would absolutely replace that one. This one does look like it might rebound for me. And then back here we have quite a bit of kale. I do like kale. Love to make kale chips with it. This one was pretty eaten, and we can see new leaves in there. Same thing with the one right here. Like really eaten down, but new leaves right there. And we put some more Swiss chard in the back. And we have another snapdragon from the spring. And I think this one is so pretty. I always show it because I just love the color. I really do. On the other side, we have peas. And so we planted these maybe a month ago, and they're starting to go up the trellis. One thing that I make sure I do right here is I make sure I water really good. These peas are on the edge of the bed. The edge of the bed sometimes dries out more, And so with that being said, I just make sure I water a little bit more. And beans and peas have shallow roots. So when a plant has shallow roots, you have to make sure that the soil stays moist because their roots are shallow. So if the top layers dry out, that means that that plant's roots are drying out. So that's another reason why I make sure that I water pretty nicely in that space. I'm also using a sprinkler, so it's getting a good amount of water. But that's why I do it. I do it because I want to make sure that those roots stay moist because they are shallow rooted plants. So beside that bed and where I showed you the Lacinato kale, we still have some very, very light green nasturtiums. But we also have some cabbage. I put some cabbage in between the nasturtiums because the nasturtiums are not going to live through the winter. They will die back, and then those cabbages will have a little more space to grow without competition. So we did that knowing that the nasturtiums are going to die back. So it's one of those things you can do like when you're in a small space to keep, oh, it's a bird. Y'all, I be looking. When I hear stuff, I be looking because if I need to run, I'm running. But it's one of those things you can do to keep a plant as long as you can, if you want to. I do want to. I love nasturtiums. I didn't do well with nasturtiums over the summer, and so I wanted to plant some more in the fall. And I have them in other places, and they look much better. So we also have more cabbage down on this end, but then we have broccoli also in this bed. These are little Swiss chard plants where I planted clusters because I want smaller leaves. I do like Swiss chard, so I like the taste of Swiss chard, but I also like the fact that it gives a little bit of color to your fall garden because fall gardens can be very green. And so I do like that it's a colorful, the bird y'all. I do like that it is a colorful vegetable in fall that I can grow. And then right behind it, we have some Brussels sprouts, and they're pretty small. They are pretty small, but if we're honest, they look better than the Brussels sprouts I have. And this side of my garden does get pretty shaded. Brussels sprouts need a very long growing season. So what I'm thinking is having them in the shaded space is like when spring comes and the sun is higher in the sky, that it'll still be shaded and maybe I can get a Brussels sprout harvest. I've never grown Brussels sprouts successfully. And so right beside that bed, we have a Vigo garden bed that's halfway filled up. I need to fill it. There is no reason why it's not filled up. It's simply, I haven't filled it. But we have broccoli in here. Pretty sure this is a cauliflower. That's another Swiss chard. And then we have more broccoli over here. If you remember, we planted calendula in that bed. It didn't do well. It rained a lot, and I just think that the rain killed the seeds, or maybe those seeds will come back in spring. I'm always trying to be optimistic. And maybe I have calendula in spring, but I didn't get them for fall. Beside that Vigo garden bed, we put some more cabbages down here. Now, this was a bed that I was not going to plant in, but since I had extra seedlings, I went ahead and did it. Another thing is cabbage likes a lot of water. And this bed, because it's a bit shaded, stays moist a lot. I also covered it with some of the wood chips because I wasn't going to plant in it. So I am hopeful that I'm not a great grower of cabbage either, if I'm honest. I can grow some broccoli, some kohlrabi. I can grow with chard. I can do all of that. But cabbage and cauliflower is not my thing, and root vegetables, if I'm honest. So what my hopes is that this bed will retain enough moisture to make sure that these cabbages always are moist, and maybe I'll see a very good harvest of cabbage. I did still leave the butterfly flower in it. I'm getting seeds from it essentially, and that's what we have, and still getting a few blooms if we're honest. All right, the comfrey plant, we did go ahead and harvest it. I made some more comfrey fertilizer with that, but it's growing back. I cut it back quite a bit in this pot, and it's growing back already. Right behind it is our sage, pineapple sage. Huge plant, pretty much grew all on its own. But I do have a question for you all. Can I still harvest the leaves now that I'm getting these beautiful flowers? Can I? I wish I could. I think I can. I don't know. I know that some plants, once they flower, they get like bitter or they don't have the same taste. So I'm wondering if I can still harvest that, because if so, I want to. I also want to propagate it and put some of that over in the orchard area too. So can I still harvest that? Will it taste the same? Let me know. The strawberries still have not been thinned. But my plan is the same thing I have for those carrots that's in the bag down over there is tomorrow. We're going to get those thinned along with these strawberries. I want to thin down to literally like 10 plants. I really do. But they are flowering again, which is pretty cool to me. We are in October. I think today is October the 14th or the 15th. It's the 15th. So, and they're flowering again. Not sure I would get, any more strawberries off of them, but I think it's pretty cool. And everybody, last year I gave away the plants. So if you're in my area, because I don't know how to ship live plants, but if you're in my area, probably next week I'll be good to meet people to give away some strawberry plants. So keep that in mind. Beside the strawberry plants are the peppers. They're not looking very good, but we're getting low. We're getting like in the 40s at night right now. So peppers like heat. But I will say that these cayenne peppers, they're still growing. But then we have some that just, they've given up. But like the cayenne peppers, they're still flowering and giving me cayenne. So that's pretty cool. I love that for me. And we're still getting a few shishito peppers as well. So that's what the peppers are looking like. It's about to be the end of their season. So behind those peppers, we have the other bed that has fall crops in it that also was getting eaten up. That's a cabbage, kohlrabi. I'm pretty sure these both were broccoli, and they're not looking good. But the kohlrabi is still giving out, new leaves in the middle. I don't know about this one. Let's see. Yep, a little tiny leaf coming out in the middle. And the cabbage is still growing. This one wasn't eaten up nearly as bad as a lot of the other things that were in the garden. And then we have a kale down here. It's a purple kale, but got ate up pretty bad. Beside that bed, we still have the blueberry bushes that are looking good. And I finally was able to get wood chips for them, and which is something I've wanted for quite some time now. So they're all still looking really good. They will more than likely lose their leaves in the fall and winter, but they'll all grow back, and hopefully we'll have a really good blueberry harvest like we have in the past. The bed behind the blueberries, I still have a eggplant in here, which is ridiculous. I just haven't pulled it out. But around that eggplant, these are kohlrabi. They're not looking the best. They got eaten pretty bad. But then there's one back here that didn't get hardly any damage. It's crazy to me. None of the radishes that we planted did anything as far as bulbing, because they also were attacked by the pest. But here we have a broccoli. We have another broccoli plant here. This is the broccoli plant that's making me leave the other sticks, because look, it started growing new leaves in the middle. So that's the one that's giving me hope for the other broccoli plants, like that one that I haven't pulled out. And this was a kale plant. Oh, also, we got a nasturtium. I think they're such pretty plants. Not only are they pretty, they're also edible. So the leaves of those plants, the seeds of those plants, the flowers, they're all edible, and I like the taste of them myself. And so that's why I like to grow them. So beautiful, but also edible. This basil plant just taking up space. I don't think I'm gonna get seeds. I think it's gonna get too cold too quick, and I think that plant is going to die. But that's kind of a learning lesson for me. I know next year, if I want to save seeds, that I need to start letting them flower earlier. I tried to keep my production on basil up as long as I could, and so I kept taking the flowers off, and that kept it from flowering. But now it's probably keeping me from getting seeds. Also, right beside that bed is cauliflower. So these are 3 cauliflower. I'm not a great grower of cauliflower, but as a way to fill my flat yesterday, I grabbed some cauliflower. So we're gonna see how that goes. It's worth a try. Like I said, $5, it's worth a try. So we have cauliflower growing down there, and I'm gonna give it a try. And then we have our bed of collards, and I think these have bounced back the best. This is all collards here. Even the newer leaves look the best on them. We have a lot of newer leaves. And the way that I harvest collards is I do a cut and come again. So I just pull the leaves and then I preserve the leaves or eat the leaves, and then the plant will just keep growing. And so I'm feeling very good about those collards because I know how I'm gonna harvest them, and I do believe that I'll do just fine with these collards. There's also 1 cabbage in here, and this is where I was saying I put a cabbage, you know, like kind of by itself to see if the space matters. Also got eaten up, but we have new leaves coming in. And then there's 1 snapdragon from the spring down here too. And last thing over here really is the snapdragons that we planted out together. They're looking real good. Still small. This is in the flower bed, but they are still looking good. They're still green, and so I do believe we'll be fine. And they're still, you know, like the echinacea here. And look at that one. It wants to grow. But all down this bed is snapdragons. This was a celosia, I believe, and then this one sedum. The name of that flower always like I can't ever remember it, and so the way I said it is because I was remembering it at the same time as saying it. Oh, that's not the last thing. We still got these peppers back here. They look just as bad as the other ones. So these are peppers. This is what our peppers behind the beds are looking like. Still has peppers. Like these are Jimmy Nardellos that are turning, you know. Still have a poblano that's trying to grow. But for the most part, the plants just look horrible. I do hope I could get 1 more flush of shishito peppers. 1 more flush of shishito peppers. Because I didn't get as many as I wanted, and they're delicious. Oh, completely forgot to show y'all. The roselle is still growing. I'm still excited. It's starting to, you know, flower. So I think that I will probably be able to get some roselle off of this. Plants are huge though. The plants are huge. Now we are going to go over here to the orchard area. We're gonna look from the outside. Not that the orchard area is as wild as it was before. It's just easier for me to show you from the outside. So that's the orchard area. That grapevine is finally starting to relax and chill a little bit. It's still going up that trellis, which I think I'm gonna let it have because I think it'll be beautiful in the summertime still. By the way, look here, y'all. Looky here. Those are Brad's Atomic grapes. Brad's Atomic grape tomatoes. And I love them. And I didn't get a lot of them this year because I planted them on that trellis that was taken over by the grapevine. So I love them. They have a thick skin, but if you can get past the thick skin, they have a really good taste, and they're beautiful. I think they're a beautiful tomato. Supposed to be kind of iridescent. There was a soft spot on it that I was trying not to eat, and now I got tomato all over me. Look, girl, imagine. All right, now I gotta wash everything I got on. Anyway, let's go back to this garden tour. Okay, so we harvested the rosemary the other day together. The oregano that got pulled when I was weeding, that'll come back. I'm pretty sure of that. Still have some comfrey. The thyme still has a little bit of green on it, so I'm still hopeful. And then we have comfrey over here under this grapevine. And then a few sprigs of sage are down there too. And there's some sage down this way too. And my fig. We all know how I feel about that fig, right? So I'm pretty excited to still have that. As I understand, it may die back. So at least I know, at least I'm aware. And then the roses that still need to be trimmed. are over here, but still giving us beautiful roses. So I cannot complain. Look how pretty. I love it. So that's the orchard area. This is also where I want to put some more sage. But it's giving fall now. It's very much giving fall. Everything is giving fall. All right, let's go into the greenhouse. And so someone asked me if I had a video about setting this greenhouse up and about setting up the beds. I have videos for all of those things. If I remember when I'm editing this, I will go ahead and put the links to those videos for you. But yeah, I have links to all of these things. The greenhouse is from Quick Tit. And the garden beds, I'm pretty sure, are from Vevor. So this is a space where I have not done a lot of growing or cultivating. This is some herbs. That's what it should be. Like there's plantain in here, stinging nettle. There's St. John's wort back there. I want to say there's lovage in here. True hyssop is in here. But you can also tell it's dry dirt in here. So with that being said, this is another space that I need to cultivate and take care of in the spring. However, I do think, because herbs are one of those very resilient plants too, that the herbs will still come back. But I still want to give them a space that is conducive to their growing so that I can actually get the herbs that I want. Because this little mess. But beside that bed, we planted this bed out last week, maybe week before last. And so there's broccoli in here. I threw some Swiss chard in here yesterday. There are some kohlrabi. These are cabbages with one kohlrabi. And then we have more broccoli and a kohlrabi. So this is my greenhouse setup. 2 garden beds. A shelf that doesn't get much use anymore. May end up pulling this out of here. I'm not sure. And then I have a seating area. I think seating areas are important in garden spaces. This is a table that I got from Walmart. That's a worm bin, which we need to get set back up too. Because like I said, I am going to try and heat this year. And so if I heat it, then the worms should survive. We talked about that in another video, that I want to heat it. I also want to be able to come and sit out in it because I do not like the cold. So those are the outdoor spaces. And this is my water because I'm trying to hydrate. One more outdoor space. There's another small greenhouse right here that I just use for drying and keeping things dry. So let me show you. This is a greenhouse that I got from Vevor. I did put wood chips in it. And so there is a old baking rack in here. It's heavier, which is great because it doesn't blow over when it's windy. This one absolutely blows over when it's windy. But I had some things drying in here. If y'all remember that basil that I didn't want to take in the house, it was a bad idea. Don't do it. I need to throw this stuff away. It was a horrible idea. And then I have like the bedding for the chickens, and then there's some potting soil in there too. So this greenhouse, that one, it does sway a bit in the wind, which is why I wouldn't want to put my seedlings in there. And I did put my seedlings in there, and it blew over the shelves. So it's better as a place to keep things dry. I like it. Okay, so now we are down in the laundry room. This is where I keep all my homesteading things. So all of the things that I use to prepare, so like the canner, incubator, all of those things are up here and well down here, but on the top shelf. Also where I store food, and so we have things in Mylar bags down here. We have things that are canned. We have herbs that are down here. It's also where I start my seedlings, and this is my laundry room. And these are some things that have dried and I need to put them up. Also where I store like all the items that I need to can and things of that nature. So this does not belong in here, but I went fishing and I have not put it back where it belongs. On this side, my sign fell. Gotta figure that out. We have places where, you know, I store the things for canning, where I store my hydroponics things. These are just, you know, where I store it, make it neater. And then this is my to-do list. So on my urban Homestead, this is where I store things. Few people said get some black curtains, which I will do. I just haven't had a chance to do that yet because as I understand it, having the light on the canned food and on the herbs can make them go bad. So I will be doing that soon. Another place that I store things that I use more often is just in this one cabinet. And so these are the things that I use more often. So I believe that's tomato powder. This is a pepper powder, cayenne peppers. I think this is a pepper powder too. Garlic powder, calendula, oregano. And then of course there are more things behind it, but we're not gonna go through everything that's in the cabinet. And where I store my eggs and how I store my eggs is here on the counter. Got this cute little quail egg holder from Amazon. Same thing with the chicken egg holder. It's right here. And that's how I store those things. So the last thing I want to show you all, when I did my bacon video and my medicinal herb video, you all gave me some really good tips, which was to get some parchment or wax paper to put in between the lid and the liquid. And I did that. I did that for all of them. So now when I shake it, I don't have to worry about rust or corrosion. So I'm excited about that. And I appreciate you all telling me that. So that's my urban homestead. Those are all of the things that I do to homestead in my urban setting. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to visit me over on Instagram, where I post about the things going on in the garden almost every day. Bye, y'all.